Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwardson, joined as always by my loveliest of wives, Stacey.
Hello. What do you mean loveliest of wives? How many wives do you have?
Moving on. So it's been a cool week.
It has.
We had a little thing happen last week. There was a big celebration. People are actually doing all kinds of things in France about my celebration.
Are they?
Yeah. They're in the streets and it seemed like they were celebrating and having a good time.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
They were shooting off fireworks and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally for your birthday.
Bonfires, all this stuff. Everybody seemed to be getting along regardless of party lines and, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's, you know what? There's been Edwards throughout centuries and time that have caused this kind of love with people and because they just love people and
there you go.
Blindly, woefully unaware of consequences. But that's just us.
Right.
So let me tell you, do you know what last week was?
I do. I know what last week was.
Yeah. The return of Ancient Aliens. Brand new episodes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course that's what it was. That's what I was talking about.
It was fantastic. It was also like the 1 week I'm off a year that I'm not really off and I'm have to stay connected to hashtag Bruce Wayne job the entire time. But it's okay. I took a more passive, I'm a slave to this job approach last week and only checked my numbers 7 times a day.
I thought you did remarkably well considering how you usually are on your vacation, still working.
Well, I did remarkably well because I've got a lot better bosses now, honestly. They kind of, my immediate boss, who will never hear this.
Yeah.
It's funny. The ones in the past listen to the show. The one I have now doesn't know about the show.
Right.
And I never talk good about the others. So,
isn't that the way it always works out?
It is. But this one's very much about their me time and all this. They're, I'm not going to say their hashtag time.
No, that's a little too much information.
Yeah. But, I have a really good team. I've worked really hard. The one benefit of working nonstop all the time is you tend to develop other good people. So I was able to, like I said, just spend 20% of my day.
Right.
Every day connected. But I think anybody who's really successful has to do that.
Right.
I don't think anybody that is truly successful at something turns off. Do you?
No, probably not.
I mean, do you think that Michael Jordan was able to take an off day when he was a Chicago Bull? I mean, because someone's going to ask him a question.
Right.
It don't matter if it's the off season. There's no off season, schmoff season. There's no such thing.
Right.
Anybody who is next level at something, and I'm not by any way, I'm totally saying I'm that level. And what I do.
Right.
There's nobody better at what I do.
At what you do specifically.
That specific Bruce Wayne job.
Right.
I'm really good. And it's a very specific thing I'm good at.
I mean, you have numbers to back that up.
Training
and
people,
evidence.
Hunting things, the family business.
Exactly.
But, it's that kind of thing. And I've been blessed or cursed with being good at it. It's been a curse for the most part.
It's such a fine line, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's somewhat financially rewarding unless you do like podcast that takes all your money. And yes, that's like my wife's. It has an S on the end. We do other podcasts. Check out Wrestling is Her if you've ever liked any of our wrestling content. It's for the ladies. Well, it's not for the ladies like this show is, because this show is for the ladies.
Is it?
Wow. Yeah, because you're on here and you give off that big,
Our show is for everyone.
You give that big Liz Fair kind of vibe.
I do not.
All right. So, yes, it was my birthday.
Yes.
And it was a very special birthday. 29.
Yep.
Damn, that 29.
You were going to get there eventually, weren't you?
I tried. I knew you got there first.
Barely.
Yeah. Almost did B voice.
I know. I was trying to trap you.
You're a prick. That's not fine. I can't help the fact that B manifests within inside my end.
I know.
So any of you longtime listeners know that B is Ariana's stuffed bear.
Yeah, she's had him since she was 4.
Yeah. Or was it just 4?
It was 3 or 4. Yeah.
I think it was 3.
Yeah. But he's had a voice ever since she got him.
It's always been the same voice. Mm-hmm. She originally got him and he was like, hey. How's everybody? It used to be so cute.
That's the tradition. Yeah, because she was 3 years old using like a deep man voice for her
now
bear.
She's a woman that still does the voice.
Yes.
But I love it.
I do too.
And I do it too. Mm-hmm. B has a friend, Purple Monkey, has always been there. He's a raggedy little monkey. We got him at like a sideshow too, which is great.
I feel like anybody that's looked at our Instagram, you'll see pictures of them.
Yeah. And I still buy the family stuffed animals. Mm-hmm. They have to meet a criteria.
Yes.
They have to be wonky.
Exactly.
Something crazy, like a platter monkey.
Right. I think one time we got another bear and its butt was really big.
Yeah.
And then we got like the one animal where its eyes were crooked. Mm-hmm. So one was higher than the other.
I always look for crooked eyes because our family has crooked eyes. Well, some of them.
I feel attacked.
And so I like to get things that make people feel better about themselves.
Right.
It's like, look, they made stuffed animals like this.
That's why we got the bear with the big butt for you.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I thought B was a butt model.
I'm talking about the other bear.
Oh, okay. So we have a lot of stuffed animals because we have fun. Mm-hmm. And we're pretty confident they're all haunted.
Oh, absolutely they are.
So that's where the whole Ariana thing came in to start with, is back in the day when we got her this thing. B had this middle-aged man's sense of humor. And we made it a point to not watch anything that was racy or, Lord, she never wanted us to even fight in front of her or anything like that. Mm-mm. We had to we don't not fight because we're such a healthy couple. It's because we're scared of our daughter. And you don't want Ariana to freak out on you. I honestly remember one time we almost had not even a fight, like where we're bitching at one another. Mm-hmm. One time I remember
normal married couple stuff.
Freaking Maine. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I can remember this when I can't remember what I ate yesterday.
Right.
But I remember her just like, like, do you guys have to, it's like, no, we don't have to do this at all. No. You want a burger? Would you like a toy?
There's a McDonald's.
Yeah. Let's go now. But he always had, and she used to make these stories on the internet on her iPad. Like, how did she have an iPad at that age? Anyway, I mean, that many years ago. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. But I remember her making these stories, and she had all B and all these little things, and we would watch the story, it'd be like 15 minutes. God, it was lovely and terrible at the same time.
Right.
But, I remember watching these, and we would always look at one another like, how did B know that? We never got good answers on that.
Right.
So that takes us to something crazy that happened this past week with Kyler. Mm-hmm. So Kyler was, Kyler's, he's a little bit older than Ariana was at the time. Mm-hmm. And he's still young enough to just say cutesy things.
Right.
He's intelligent, smart, all this stuff, but he's still going to have the little kid voice and all this, So we were trying to name this god-awful cat that Raja made for me.
That thing is adorable.
And what I said, this blessed cat.
That's what you said, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the cat.
She's learning to crochet, and she crocheted a black cat, and it's adorable.
It is. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's so good, though, that our actual cat...
He's kind of afraid of it.
Yeah.
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 So anyway, we're trying to name the cat.
So the cat's pretty big, and it looks it's like spooky. It looks like spooky, and it looks like it's also stoned.
She did go a little much with the eyelids.
Yeah. So, and he has to look forward at all times. It's a thing, and I've had some fun with it, but I hadn't named him. He's just been Cat. And we were like, well, what are we going to name the cat? The family's all together. And then because I was actually not at work. So we're all sitting around the living room, and it was just a throwaway conversation, really, if this hadn't happened. And Kyler's like, well, I know. We'll call him Denny. His name's Denny. And Stacey's, father, his name was Denny. Mm-hmm. And that she lost at 13 years old. And it's just kind of weird because we've always felt some really strong Denny energy.
Right.
And
that's not a name that he would No, like
It's
that's
not a
not a
name
name
that
he's heard. We don't talk
yeah.
about it. It's not something we bring up, and
We don't eat there.
we don't. Yeah, and there's not. He doesn't watch any shows with that. I mean, he just sort of picked that out of the air.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, and Stacey even specified. So you're not saying...
Yeah, I thought he was saying Denty at
Yeah,
first.
you're not saying Denty. No. I'm saying Denny.
Yeah.
His name, he was like very specific. He's like, his name's Denny.
So that's the cat's name.
No, that's the cat's. Oh, yeah. You don't screw with that.
Yeah. But
She says her name's Isabel.
Okay. All right. Isabel, nice to meet you.
Yeah, that's it.
It's one of those things, but
I mean, weird stuff happens all the time, though. Like the thing that happened with the TV last night. Did you see that?
I have it marked down to talk about.
Oh, do you?
I'll let
Sorry.
you, it's your story to tell.
Well, I was downstairs with the kids, and you guys were all upstairs watching wrestling because there's pay-per-view.
Yeah, pay-per-view.
And so it was just me and the kids downstairs, and I was at the kitchen table in the kitchen, and the kids were on the couch. They were both on their iPads watching YouTube, and the television was off because I turn it off if they're watching their iPads because that's just too much going on. And both of the TV remotes were on the television stand at the TV. So I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden, and we have a Roku. So, when you turn the TV on and the Roku comes on, there's that noise. It makes that Roku noise, like doot-doot or whatever it is. So as soon as I was sitting at the table, I heard the noise. And I looked up because I was curious what the kids were going to turn on because I would like to know what they're watching. And they're both engrossed in their iPads. Neither one of them had even moved.
Yeah.
And so I was like...
It's a good 15 feet.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's really strange. So I got up and I went in the living room, and the TV was not only on, but playing the first Spider-Man movie, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, playing it from the free Roku channel. So there's just a couple of weird things about this. One, nobody touched the remote.
Right.
Two, I probably wouldn't watch that movie.
Right.
And especially wouldn't watch it on the Roku free channel. I'd never watch that.
Right.
And another weird thing is our Roku's been kind of messed up where when you turn the television on, the Roku doesn't automatically come on. You actually have to change the input to get the Roku to show.
Yeah.
Like it's been messed up for a couple weeks. So how it managed to do that without anybody touching it.
The TV was off.
Yeah, it was completely off.
And so TV had to turn on. Roku had to turn on. Mm-hmm. Input had to be selected.
And that movie had to start.
Yes.
I even looked at both the kids' iPads to see if they accidentally put something to the TV.
Right.
But I mean, that's not something it would have been something from YouTube if they had done it.
We were watching pay-per-view.
Yeah. And I was on my computer.
We were locked in.
And so I have no idea. It was very, very strange.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, obviously we have a long history with anything electronic. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it works around us.
Yeah. Well, that area too. Sometimes the Xbox used to come on all the time, but right now the Xbox is not plugged in, so it hasn't been coming on.
Thank God.
Yeah. So maybe whatever goes, turn the Xbox on because the Xbox is easy. You just barely have to brush that thing to get it to come on.
Barely.
There you go. Sorry. I guess since they couldn't do the Xbox, they're just like, all right, we're gonna up our game.
Well, I mean, normally, a lot of times it's just some kind of communication they're trying to do.
Right.
Whatever that is.
Trying to figure out what the message was with the Spider-Man movie.
I mean, I bet you there's
a
one.
spider in your house? Well, I don't know.
Or a man.
Maybe.
I mean, or
it was very strange.
A Toby. It's somewhere trapped between a man and a spider. I don't know, man. It's cool. Something else cool is my present from Stacey last week for Ancient Aliens starting. She always celebrates the new seasons of Ancient Aliens of giving me a present.
Right.
It's just coincided with my birthday.
Just happens to coincide with your birthday.
But I was so proud of you.
Aw.
You did really well.
Well, I tried.
It was the first time you tried in years.
That's not true.
It was such a good present. I got my military grade night vision now. So not little cheapo attachment. Here's my IR. I'm going to light up the backside of Betsy's ass. No, we got an attachment that does that. Mm-hmm. And all that good stuff. But this is something that'll work great in conjunction with my FLIR, which was another present. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a nice FLIR. And and my moon camera, which was also a present. Thank you very much.
That was kind of for me too, though.
Yeah, that was. So we got our super spectacular moon camera. Mm-hmm. We've got our kick-ass FLIR that's better than your FLIR.
And now you've got the night vision that you can see UFOs with in the sky at
night. Now I've got my night vision that I can look up at the sky during the daytime or even the nighttime. I can see things like the ISS and misidentified as aliens. I can see things like satellites and misidentified as aliens. I can see aliens and misidentify them as planes.
There you go.
And
it'll be all kinds of fun. And it's really nice because it actually records. Like, you just push the button and it records what you're looking at.
yeah, and you can...
And you just put it...
I've been making videos. It's really awesome. It's got a bunch of different types and... I mean, it's amazing. I can turn this son of a bitch on. Yes, we've got the camera that will go into outer space or whatever, but it's got it's very shaky. Like, you got to have your thing pretty much figure out where you're going to look.
Right.
This thing is not like that. This thing, man, I can turn it on and I instantly see every star that someone with like super Native American eyes with no light pollution on top of a rock in 1422 would have seen.
Right.
You could see like the Milky Way, you can see, and so you see also cloaked UFOs, and it's really cool, man. Like when the Sony cameras had their first iterations of IR back in the late 90s, people could see through bathing suits, and you might not know that.
I did not know that.
Anybody who got on voyeur sites in the late 90s, and I did it for research.
Right, of course.
Yeah, totally. That's where the cat gets it from. But they had this thing and they fixed it actually. I'm like, damn it, because that means it made it worse. They took the downgrade on the IR. But no, it's incredible. It's like something that it works as good as you see on videos and stuff. And that's what I've been a fan of those videos for a long time. Whenever I'm a fan of something, I can only take it for so long before I have to have it myself. So this was one of those things. I've been pushing it.
We have a couple of videos where we were just testing it out. I'll post those on Patreon.
Yeah.
So that people can see them.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. And I know there's a lot of people that have these things. I'm not sure that many people that have them for the reason we have it.
No, I feel like they're more for like hunters and
military
stuff like that.
Yeah. But it's great. I mean, you can see everything for quite a long ways. But yeah, it's good stuff. I'm sure there'll be some fun videos coming out with it.
Oh yeah.
It's good stuff. So speaking of good stuff, my friend, my compadre, we got some good feedback on the haunted stories.
Okay.
So I thought, what better thing to do than find some more?
Some more haunted stories.
Yes.
Okay. I love haunted stories.
So I found a bunch of cool ones on Reddit because I spend a lot of time on Reddit. But then I found a BuzzFeed article that did it all for me.
Oh, they just went through Reddit for you and got some stories.
And this isn't all of them.
No.
But this was specifically about living in a haunted house.
Right.
And it's still Reddit stories, but I took what they have. So let's get into it, shall we?
Okay, let's do.
You want me to get in the mood a little bit?
Oh yeah, you got to do it like you're like in the moment.
Ask all the ghosts to come in this room.
Let's not do that.
Please come to the studio. No, you'll freeze to death, won't you?
I will.
Okay.
I mean, only if they want to say something into the microphone, then they can come.
They always do.
I know.
I don't even tell you now when I hear them.
I do sometimes. Sometimes when I edit, I don't listen to every single minute of the show. So
we need to give prizes out for people that let us know
when they find an EVP,
what the EVP is and when it was and stuff. Because there is one in every episode.
There has to be.
There was last time.
Was there?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Last week there was one, and I can't remember if there was one the week before. But with that said, this is from user JHumph88. I like the name.
Humph.
J Humps. You better give that man a J Humph. Even watch your ass. This is a weird post, but I'm fairly sure my house is haunted. And I want to see about others having similar experiences. This house was built in 1954, and I moved in about 2.5 years ago. I live alone with my dog. Things started happening within a few weeks of moving in. Lights turning on and off, doors closing on their own, etc. One night, I was sitting in the kitchen, at the kitchen island, eating dinner, and a hand grabbed my torso. I also randomly smelled cigarette smoke or a strong perfume from time to time. My guest bedroom is carpeted, and you can easily see if someone has walked across the carpet, but often the blinds will be randomly open after I have closed them. With no visible footprints on the carpet, my mom came to visit and said that she was getting ready in the morning when someone loudly said her name. My best friend was getting ready one morning in the same bedroom. and he said he backed up into a person, but nobody was there. They each told me that this, on their own, no prompting. I never mentioned that I thought the house was haunted to them. Today, my AirPods case randomly flew off the kitchen counter. I know this sounds kind of ridiculous, but I really think this place is haunted. I'm wondering if anyone has experienced something similar or how they live with it. I don't feel threatened or unsafe, but it's just weird. Now, first response is we've had all those things happen.
Right.
Even backing into people. I mean, I think of you when we were dating. Mm-hmm. You had an experience. I don't know if you even remember it, but you had an experience like that. There's been those are classic signs of hauntings. Mm-hmm. Perfume and cigarettes. Mm-hmm. Either you got a stripper or a couple, maybe. Or a couple, yeah.
Right, because it's an old house, so you would think maybe original owners or something.
It could be two owners.
That's true.
Yeah.
Separate times.
Could be an owner and his victim.
Could be.
You never know, right? But definitely your house is haunted, J-Hump.
Yes, I agree. The AirPods flying off the counter pretty much seals it, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, your dog should be giving you some kind of word up on it, though.
Yeah, depending. I mean, the dog might just not care.
Dogs are dumb.
The dog might just be like, yeah, whatever.
I love dogs, but they're dumb. My cat writes dissertations when it sees a ghost. Like, you can even tell what kind of ghost it is, whether or not Spooky stays in the room. Mm-hmm. When Spooky puts his little sack over his shoulder and, Incredible Hulk starts playing.
The activity's going to ramp up, huh?
The next user, Aku.
Oh, nice.
Gesundheit. That was.
I'm sorry.
Completely. I gave you my arm on that one.
So sorry.
Twisted it. It's like, come off on it. The next one user is Aku.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My sister used to live in a 1,000-year-old house in England. I honestly thought she was losing her mind when she kept telling me about the, quote, ghost that would purloin her items, move things around, etc. One day I was visiting and she said, "It's here." And I and her two teenage daughters, that is, went to the foot of the stairs, and on the landing was a ball of, quote, fractal-looking light, about the size of a soccer ball. It slowly glided down the stairs past us. My dog had her hackles up and was clearly tracking it. See? Mm-hmm. And I felt something like a light brush of wind as it went past us into the living room and disappeared. I grabbed some pens and paper and asked everyone to stop speaking and write down what they all had witnessed. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. We all saw the same thing. I never doubted my sis again. Still have no idea what it was, though, and I've never experienced anything like that again.
Wow. I mean, 1,000-year-old house, it's just so hard to wrap your head around because we don't have stuff that old here. But I'm curious how old her sister is if she uses words like purloined.
I would be disappointed. I would be disappointed if I bought a 1,000-year-old house.
And there wasn't a ghost?
And it wasn't a ghost.
Yeah. You kind of buy a house that old expecting it to be haunted.
Like, you don't walk through a abandoned hospital expecting to be by yourself.
Right. That's not why you go.
All right.
You're not going for the scenery.
Yeah, or the smell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Purloined.
Purloined.
Sorry, purloined her items.
Purloined. What about her dog having its hackles?
With its hackles up.
A hackled up dog.
All right. Let's see. Let's hear the next one.
This next user is K Diesel 311.
Okay.
I believe you. But no one else believes me when I tell this. My house, 1953, has two ghosts. My stepdaughter and her stepmom claim to be able to sense them. They both said it's an old lady and an old man. Don't worry, they're friendly. They said the old lady used to be a gardener, and she likes the plants you have. One day, this neighbor was walking by who hadn't been to our house in some time and told my wife, "Oh my gosh, I haven't been by in forever. I remember the old lady who used to live here. She's always had flowers out front here and a bunch of plants inside the dining room." As she looks in our window and says, "Just like you guys do." They mess with us, mostly me. Mostly. I set my cooler down to wash it and turned around to turn on the hose. When I looked back, I saw that my dog's toy was in the cooler. Things turned the lights on and off. The craziest one was when I threw away some moldy cheese in the morning and went to work. When I got home, the cheese was back in the fridge. I asked my wife if she took it out, and she said, why the fuck would I take moldy cheese out of the trash and put it back in the fridge? Also, supposedly, since dogs can see them, one time my 2 dogs and my stepdaughter's dog were all looking up at the ceiling, moving their heads back and forth in sync as if they were following something that was moving.
Yep, they do that.
And that's K Diesel.
Well, that's pretty funny. His wife would have been like, what? Moldy cheese. And so I'm like, oh, that's not moldy enough. Let's just put that back.
Sounds like the wives could get along here.
Yeah.
You and her could, that's exactly the response I get. I mean,
because you would ask.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to ask.
You have to ask.
You have to ask,
cheese.
hey, is there a reason why you put this? Because you don't know. Maybe it's a science experiment for your kids or something.
Yeah.
You don't know. You should ask.
Yeah.
There could always be a reason.
I mean, I tend to think my refrigerator's 3/4 science experiment most of the time.
Sometimes it is. It's due for a cleaning. I think we have some science experiments in there at the moment.
Yeah. That's the purple goo.
Oh.
I have to know about the purple goo at some point.
I do too. Purple goo.
All right. Next user, Yaba, 3800. My family has something that bothers us at night. It waits until you're at the threshold of sleep or already asleep, and then it vibrates the bed. This has happened to 5+ people in multiple houses and hotels across multiple states. People who have not been directly vibrated have felt the vibration by placing their hand on the bed of the person who was just woken up. Man and young child sleeping on a couch, within the man's head resting on a cushion and the child resting on his shoulder. I'm a scientist and was a firm non-believer in the supernatural religious ideas like ghosts. It's so easy to discard until it happens to you, until something happens to you for which there's no logical explanation. There's no way to collect any evidence. And so far I can tell, there's no way to make it stop. This has been ongoing for about 27 years.
Wow. That's crazy. Just being vibrated while they're sleeping?
Yeah.
Huh.
Either you've got like a very lonely aunt that tends to visit all these people.
Right.
And like...
Maybe it's like a genetic thing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It's on the threshold of sleep.
Right. And they just like, it feels like vibrating.
Maybe they're all electric, you know?
That's weird.
I don't know, man.
It's a weird one.
It is a weird one, but the quote itself is very true from the scientist and the firm non-believer. Mm-hmm. That, you know, it's hard to, you know, it's easy to discard until it happens to you.
Right. And then you can't discard it.
Yeah, it sounds like a scientist, doesn't it?
I always like the stories where they're non-believers and then they're believers.
They also are non-believers. It's the cool thing to do. All the kids are saying it.
I know.
Next user's Blissful Disobedience.
Oh, okay.
Another one of your friends.
Must be.
My grandma was a force of nature and I loved her. When my grandma died, the relatives locked up the house and it remained untouched for 10 years. Hey, we're Italian and we don't let go easily, except for regular bi-weekly cleanings. I eventually bought the house and started clearing things out because everything was exactly how it was the day she died. The first night we were in the house, it was hot as Hades, but my kids, they're teenagers, tried on grandma's fancy robe, jewelry, and wiglets. They rooted through dressers and trunks. It was all fun and games until it wasn't. In the middle of the night, my 19-year-old daughter came running into our bed, crying and yelling about the woman standing at the end of her bed. It seems it got very cold in her room, and she sat up to pull up the quilt. A woman was standing at the end of the bed staring. The beds were original to the house. We laughed and poo-pooed her, but she refused to return to that room. So she stayed in our bed that night and many nights to follow. I did tell her that we were sleeping in the bed where my grandfather died, and she vowed never again to return. On the second night in the house, my husband woke up and asked who was in the hallway. thinking it was one of the other kids. He got up to look around but saw no one. It was one of the girls in their robes heading for the bathroom, except it wasn't. My husband, the nuclear scientist, decided it was just headlights passing by.
The old headlights in the window story.
My beloved voice of reason. A few weeks passed and all was quiet except for the middle of the night smell of brewing coffee and burnt toast, Grandma's favorite breakfast. My daughter went next door to the cousin's house and let out the dog and returned with a picture of a family reunion. She pointed out my grandmother and said, "This is the lady standing at the end of my bed." She had never met my great-grandmother. I went down to the basement and chatted with Grandma, telling her that while I love her presence there, she's scaring the shit out of the kids. I told her that I loved her, would take care of the house she and my grandfather built, and that it was okay for her to move on. It's been quiet ever since.
Well, I think she handled that in a very good way.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. That's funny. It's always creepy when the kids pick out the person they've never met.
That's happened to us as well.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen this guy.
We had a house, and it was, funny enough, the black house. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk to our neighbors because we hate neighbors. And, you know, time had went by, and the neighbors didn't talk to us either because we threw a big giant statue of an angel over the back of the hill as soon as we took over the house. And we bought this house and just had this god-awful angel in front. I mean, I like angels as much as the next dude,
This
right?
thing was huge.
But this thing was huge. This thing like screamed, okay, the preacher must live there.
It weighed like
A lot.
400 pounds. It was
Listen,
ridiculous.
It took me and two other wrestlers. And at the time we were all wrestling. So, I mean, I was still, you know, me. And it took us, and we had to tear one of its wings off to get it rolling. And I think the neighbors, because this was a summer afternoon, they must have all just been watching. Mm-hmm. So when we threw it over this hill, and we lived in the national forest where we lived, it got hung up in a tree. So from the main highway, it looked like we had hung it.
That was totally not intentional.
No, it was not intentional.
We meant for it to go down because there was like a steep embankment, and then there was a place down there where there were just things where somebody else had already done the same thing. So we were like, we'll just add it to that pile.
Yeah.
And it looked really easy. You know, just shove it. It'll go right down. Easy peasy.
No.
No.
No, it got stuck in a tree. It looked like we should have been awarded 30 pieces of silver for it. But it was funny because it took a long time for the neighbors to talk to us. And when they did bring up the angel.
They did. They'd be like, you know, that was a memorial for the lady that used to live there.
Yeah, the lady who died.
Who died in your basement.
Yeah. So she died in the basement in the bathroom. Uh-huh. And from the description, it ended up being the lady that the kids had seen downstairs.
Who liked to pop into the bathroom when you were in there.
Yeah, standing in there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She did die in the bathroom.
I wish they had told us that before we bought the house.
We wouldn't have bought that house.
No, probably not.
No, as much crap. And it's funny, she wasn't even the bad one.
No.
We ended up having some real bad. I bet she really... Can you imagine how bad that woman hated us in afterlife?
You know, she may have just been trying to warn us about the bad one.
Because we came in that house, throw her bleeding angel over the hill.
Right. We let the girls paint their room whatever color they wanted.
We just, you know, we had a lot of parties at the time still.
Right.
And then we brought in demons.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't mean to.
No, but it happened.
But we brought in some dark shit, so.
All right. Anyway, let's continue.
Anyway. Next user. Teacher, inventor. Actually, it says teacher, investor.
Oh, okay.
Which sounds really creepy.
Yeah. They invest in teachers.
I've been investing in teachers. They call me the education collector. I never believed in ghosts before. Sounds like I'm starting a TV show.
It does.
I never believed in ghosts before. But the same things happened when I moved into my current house. Lights would turn on and off randomly, even while I was in the room. I'd smell random whiffs of cigarette smoke. Nobody smokes in my house, and nobody was smoking outside. My dog would bark at things during the night. Then in 2019, I was having some landscaping work done. A guy was working in the front yard, and there's an oval-shaped decorative window at the front of the house that leads to the attic. I went out to ask him if he had any questions or wanted anything to drink, and he said, "Yeah, who's the old lady who watches me from, working from the window? And he pointed to the oval attic window. The neighbors had told me that the previous owner's mother lived with them until she passed. So I told all of this to a friend who has always believed in ghosts and other spiritual paranormal activity. She wasn't surprised by any of it. She told me the next time I felt her presence to open the front door, show her the light, and calmly tell her it's okay to leave. I did that, and I haven't had any more strange occurrences since.
That's a weird way to do it.
Yeah, it is.
I liked your gardener voice.
Oh, why?
It just is funny.
Oh, did I do a...
You totally did a Mexican accent.
No, I did not.
You did.
I did not.
You did. It's the same one you use for like your
laborers.
Yeah, for people that you
day laborers.
It's your day laborer voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not supposed to have a certain nationality to it. It's
okay.
It's
my
just,
mistake.
No, it's just it's cultural.
I got you.
It's seen the world. It's always
sophisticated.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
The guy lives in my head, right?
I got you.
Whenever I do, I always use voices.
You do.
And whenever I do a story, there's like 20 people probably that are back there, and I just take them out of the lineup, and they wear different costumes, and they play in my little community theater of the mind.
And you wonder where Ari gets it.
No, I don't. Next user is Powerful Cheesecake 48.
Oh, God, I love some good, powerful cheesecake.
Going down. I grew up in an old house and never had experiences there. Things would creak the way old houses do. I was used to it. Years later, as an adult, I moved into an old house. Things started falling over seemingly on their own. I thought I was being careless with how I was setting things down. I started taking special care in how I set things down. When they kept falling, often in the middle of the night, I knew something was going on. I set a paint can down once, thinking how bad it would be if it fell over, so I made sure it wouldn't. Seconds after turning around, I heard it hit the floor. Electronics would go off in the middle of the night. I'd hear a voice calling my name and saying hi. I was touched a couple of times. I'd have weird dreams when I otherwise rarely remember dreaming. I decided to do the thing they do in paranormal investigation shows, where someone talks to the ghost and sets ground rules and what is and isn't allowed. I felt so stupid doing it, but as soon as I did, everything stopped. It restarted briefly after a weekend renovation project, but stopped without me doing anything. I can't explain this. I can.
Yeah. Well, you can only rationalize until you can't rationalize anymore, can you?
And if you notice, and then it's the reason I like doing these, it's because these Reddit stories, and we can only say allegedly true because, listen, if somebody wants to take the time and lie and put a paragraph up,
right,
then that's whatever, okay?
Right.
Whatever. You can usually sniff them out. But a lot of these are true. They are.
Well, and we've heard a lot of stories that are very similar to these.
Yeah. And that's why it's the ones we pick. But I mean, it's the funny thing is there are rules and there are similarities, and there's things that work and there's things that don't work and there's things that don't always work.
Right.
It depends. It does depend on the kind of ghost you have.
It does. It's very specific.
Rarely do I get a ghost that follows the rules.
We get the special ones.
Yeah. Yeah. So, last one. You ready for the last one?
Last one. Let's have it.
Our user is Valzababa.
Okay.
We talked to our ghost. He's the previous owner of the house, and he passed away a few months after we bought the house. He usually only makes his presence known when someone has complained about something in the house. Once I was hanging new curtains, and I measured the window, but not the wooden valance above. I was saying how stupid it was to make the valance so much wider than the window. That night I woke up to see an old man standing just in the corner of my bedroom. I yelled at my husband to wake up, and he saw the man too. He dove at him. No one was there. Now we are sure to talk positively about the house and appreciate the hard work.
He just showed up because she was talking smack about his
bitch.
how those are supposed to be made.
How stupid is it now? She's haunted by Batman, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Well, there's some good experiences.
They are. Good thing I read those first and knew which ones were females and which ones were males, huh? All right. Well, the only thing that would make this any better, because we do love the true stories,
Yes.
is a little bit of paranormal news.
So let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so let's start off with this really awesome story about MUFON and an upcoming symposium. that they're having in Irving, Texas. So, in what is being called the most important UAP-related presentation MUFON has ever made. Ever.
That is saying something.
It is. The Mutual UFO Network will reveal details about a UAP materials case that it recently received from Russia in an exclusive live event on Saturday, July 13th, 2024 at 8 p.m. Now, this case is going to be presented in person at the symposium, but also will be live streamed. Because I guess they're live streaming all the talks.
Sound like they're doing it on pay-per-view.
Well, apparently this is some material that they received from, let's see, it says the mysterious materials delivered to the home of a Russian UFO investigator with evidence of a cover-up.
Is his name Yuri?
It does not say.
Oh, okay.
So tests by Russian labs later corroborated by MUFON's own U.S. lab confirmed that the material is of unknown origin. And they have this material. And it says, now, while virtually any material can be identified by its components from the periodic table, unknown combinations or isotopic ratios can often point to a mysterious origin of samples. So this story about these particular materials is even more compelling because some of the samples that were sent for additional testing were stolen out of an official U.S. post office box shortly after they arrived.
Holy
They
crap.
were being sent to a MUFON investigator named Robert Spearing. And before he could get to his post office box to get them, they were stolen out of his post office box.
So somebody committed a federal offense.
Exactly. And on top of that, the cameras in the post office were turned against the wall.
You're kidding me.
No, that's what it says, inhibiting investigation. Now, all the postal workers all testified that they delivered the packages to the box. So they just somehow disappeared.
What about the person who turned the cameras?
I don't know. Somehow they have no video of it happening and nobody knows anything. They can't investigate it because the cameras were not looking at the post office box.
And the post office wonders why we don't use them anymore.
Now, it does say that just some of the samples were sent. So they do still have samples, and these are the ones that they're going to present. They're going to present the whole case.
I don't want anybody going postal on me.
That's true.
This is crazy. That's a big deal.
It is. So you can go to www.mufonsymposium.com. You can sign up to attend the exclusive event via live stream, unless you're in Irving, Texas, and want to go live.
And be a correspondent for us. Hint, hint. I know we got people near there. We got listeners that are near there.
That's true. So it's very interesting. I can't wait to see it. It says the evidence that supports the story and others that they're going to share could make this the biggest UFO-related news event of the year, that they have physical materials and more evidence of non-human technology.
So let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me about the fact that the materials. Okay. Tell me that. What do they have and what was stolen? Like, how much is it?
It doesn't really say. It doesn't actually go into. I think they're saving a lot of the details for the actual event.
Right.
All it says is that they have materials that were delivered to the home of a Russian UFO investigator. So apparently somebody sent it to this specific investigator because they knew that there was something up with it, and he was an investigator of UFOs.
They don't know where this was found originally?
They might, but it doesn't. It's not in this article.
Okay.
It's not in this article. Now, that Russian UFO investigator tested it at labs in Russia, and then MUFON apparently sent some of the material, and they also tested it with different labs in the United States, and both of them confirm that it is material of unknown origin.
Well, see, Russia totally, like, as a culture, believes in aliens, like, way before it was accepted here. Mm-hmm. It's just a thing there. Like, they have no bones about the fact that they're space aliens.
Right. It does say in here that the particular sample that was tested, 90% of it is unknown. Like, it's not just like it's material with a little bit of unknown stuff in it.
And we're talking like metal here. We're talking like some kind of unknown something.
That's what it seems like. They just said that 90% of the sample is made of materials that the labs were unable to identify.
Wow.
So it's going to be very, very interesting. The whole thing, I mean, even if it wasn't interesting enough, the fact that some of the samples were stolen out of a post office box kind of just confirms that this is really something that...
Well, it confirms a couple things. It confirms that we are still spying on MUFON.
Right.
Okay. It confirms that there are little birds in MUFON.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Moles.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have anybody to go do this.
Right.
To steal it. And I mean, God knows, where are they? How far does that go? Did they have somebody that could get a hold of at the post office? Is there somebody at every post office? I mean,
it's obviously somebody that is good enough to get in there, not be seen. That? I did not.
When I said, is there anybody at every post office? When you're listening back, just see if there was a man.
Okay.
That said, yeah.
Okay. I'll listen back for it. So, very interesting story.
Very. That's a interesting as hell story.
Yeah.
Can't wait to. And again, seriously, if somebody's down there listening near there and you want to go there and get on a list.
Get on a list with us. Definitely going to do an update to that, though, after the July symposium. All right. So while we're talking about UFOs, let's talk about this mass sighting of a huge flying saucer by a worker at Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado.
Yeah, do it.
Now, this amphitheater, it's outside of Denver. It's kind of on the edge of a national forest. It's beautiful. Everybody, it's outside, huge rocks.
The majority of my listeners know what Red Rocks is.
Right. Okay.
Been some damn good concerts here.
So the National UFO Reporting Center received this account on June 5th, just hours after it supposedly happened. And the individual detailing the case explained that they were working at the Red Rocks Amphitheater around 1 o'clock in the morning. And one of the people working, there was like a dozen people there at the time. One of the coworkers suddenly said, "Hey, what's that over there? It looks like a spaceship." So everybody looked, all the dozen of people, and what they saw was a classic disc-shaped metallic craft that was several hundred yards long, and it was just hovering in the sky approximately a mile away. It had 3 levels of windows.
This is so crazy.
Which means it looked almost like a long 3-story office building just hovering in the sky. And it was very silent. And they said that it seemed to respond to the workers watching it by tilting and moving belly first to the east before it just simply faded away after about 30 seconds.
That's insane.
Now, the witness insisted it was not a plane. It was not a satellite, a drone, or anything like that. There was no mistaking what it was.
So the size of it is what really gets me.
Yeah.
The 3 stories with the windows and stuff is just insanity.
It is.
You don't see those every day.
Now, there aren't any pictures or video because obviously they were working and they weren't ready to snap pictures and things. But he does say there were a dozen witnesses. There's no way to really verify it unless some other witnesses come forward.
Tell you what, if they ever come around one of my stores, they'll definitely have video.
Yeah.
Those assholes always have their phones.
But just a very cool, I love when you get the UFO sightings that are one, unique like that.
Yeah.
And to have a lot of witnesses. And I like the fact that they said that it went belly first, because that's like, we've heard a lot about how spaceships move and how they don't just fly, hover, like they turn on their sides and go belly first.
Right.
Like that's a common thing.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's so unique. We get a lot of UFO reports.
Yeah.
But we rarely cover them unless it's something like that. That's one that, has anybody out there had a experience where you've seen a multi-leveled UFO with the windows and stuff? Let us know, because that's insanity.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, just another little UFO note here. Steven Spielberg has announced a new UFO movie for the summer of 2026.
Speaking of cover-ups.
Now, it's funny in this article, it says the title and the plot are not known, but they have a date to be released, May 15th of 2026. Like, they know when they're going to release it, but they haven't released like the title or the plot or anything like that. But supposedly it is an original UFO story. And we know, Steven Spielberg did movies like E.T. and, War of the Worlds. He tends to put some very real things in his movie. Oh, wasn't he Close Encounters of the Third Kind too?
Yeah, the main UFO movie.
Yeah. So, very interested in what he's going to do. It says that he's going to reunite with longtime collaborator David Koepp, who worked, like on Jurassic Park and War of the Worlds, Indiana Jones. So it's going to be an epic movie.
Well, the story is
very good.
that the government interfered with Close Encounters, and not in a bad way, just like this is, and of course there's the ET thing from the White House.
Right.
When Ronald Reagan says, you have no idea how close you are to, and that's legend, right? That's just a thing of legend, but still, it's a cool legend.
So I find it interesting that he's wanting to do an original story in the wake of all the UAP things that are happening.
And the date is also cool because that's getting close to a certain date that a lot of people are pointing to. There's always a date out there, but 27, 28. It's more like 27th when they return, according to some folk. So we'll see.
We will see.
They're here.
They always have been.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go into a ghost story.
Sounds good.
Nice haunted. This is sort of like what you did. It's sort of a ghost haunted thing that happened. All right. It's mysterious flooding at the Titanic exhibit.
I love this. If you guys don't know this story, you're in for a damn treat. This is some real paranormal news 101 tonight.
All right. So some surveillance footage has captured a gush of water flooding a Titanic exhibit near Chicago. And it mystified the museum officials who said that they couldn't find any reason for the water. There were no roof leaks. There were no burst pipes or anything that could have caused the flooding during their inspection. Absolutely no reason for the water. Now, there is footage of the ghostly flooding, and it was shared on local news outlets, and it shows a large amount of water suddenly flooding the room where several artifacts from the doomed Titanic were displayed. Now, according to the museum, this is not the first time that this particular exhibit has experienced paranormal activity. Now, the gentleman they spoke to for this article, he claims that he's not a huge ghost guy, but when all this happens, he said, I'm looking, but there's no cracks, there's no holes, there's no broken pipes, the ceiling's fine, everything around the building is totally fine. Yet they have this video of all this water. Now, over the years, museum visitors have reported seeing a lot of different paranormal things, like a young boy staring at them from outside the window on the 4th floor. Others claim to have seen bottles floating in the air and images of a soldier roaming the hills. I find it odd that they've seen a young boy staring at them from outside the window on the 4th floor.
Yeah.
Like, what would he be standing on? That's very high in the air.
I thought they meant like from them being outside.
Oh.
They're seeing the young boy staring out the window.
Oh, I guess it's just the way it's worded.
Yeah.
That's worded weird. That does make more sense.
I mean, it could be the other way, but...
I don't know. I'm thinking like I'm getting those Salem's Lot vibe.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Like hovering.
Let me in, buddy.
Now, a paranormal show did visit the site in 2009 and claimed to have filmed a shadowy figure sitting on some furniture. It was Ghost Lab. That was the show that was there. But at the time, the show promoted more guests, workers, and family to come forward with ghost stories. And since then, visitors have sent in photos and stories about creepy experiences, including stories of white dogs walking through mirrors, dolls found in strange places, and a boy peering through the 4th floor window from the outside.
Oh,
it said it again. Yeah. That's really weird. So the museum owner told the media that he thinks the ghost likes the museum because of the antiques. Oh, I can guarantee it's because of the antiques.
Yeah, no,
that is absolutely why there's a ghost there.
So it's not the first time the Titanic stuff,
right?
No matter where it's at,
right,
has been haunted.
Yeah,
just like the 9/11 stuff. It's a lot of these ancient. Well, a lot of these known haunted things or known tragedies always carry something.
Right.
Obviously, right?
Right.
It's going to carry something.
Yeah.
That was a terrible way to go.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes sense. It's like I've been watching Ghost Whisperer.
Right.
I never watched the series, so I was like, oh, it's on Hulu. I'm gonna binge it while I'm doing dishes and stuff. And all the spirits that they have in that show, which supposedly is supposed to be very realistic, everything they do is very related to how they died. Like if the guy drowned, there's a lot of water, if they were hit by a car, there's car things related. So, it makes sense that a Titanic exhibit would flood. It just makes sense.
Absolutely. So. That one just really cool because that's like the classic haunting. I mean, because it's going to be the water that shows up out of nowhere.
Of course.
And I think it's great. I saw this guy. I mean, I watched him say those words, and he was perplexed. He was not, he was like, look, it's not who I am. But when there's no cracks and there's no known reason for this damn water.
Right. I'm curious. I don't think they mentioned how they got rid of the water. Like if they had to get rid of it or if it
I
just
know how they got rid of it.
Disappeared.
You know my day laborer guy?
Yeah. Is that how they got rid of it?
On the video that I watched, there's this poor dude with a wet dry.
Oh no, in the back.
Yeah. He's like,
I was just curious.
How's it going?
Just getting up this water.
Yeah, there was actually a dude through the whole video while this other guy's just talking to us.
Wow.
And he's in the back. He's this heavy set dude. He's like, I felt so bad for him. It's funny because I clued in on this guy.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Just thinking how much he must love.
Is he just like looking over at the camera?
No, he doesn't. He's just looking down thinking how much he hates his life.
Right. That must be terrible. Okay, so let's do another kind of ghost type story. And this is one that you mentioned to me to find. And it's about a wrestler.
Yes.
Yes.
This is so cool.
Yes. So this is a story about a wrestler named MJF. He's an AEW wrestler.
Maxwell Jacob.
And they were doing an interview with him because AEW is going to collaborate with Reebok and do a new tennis shoe that honors a wrestler that passed away named Brody Lee.
Came out this past Monday on Champ Sports website.
Yes, July 1st. And, Brody Lee, he tragically passed away suddenly. It was unexpected. And they always do things to kind of honor him, try to help his family out. Now, while speaking with...
John Huber was his name.
Yes. While speaking with MJF, in the interview, he took some time because they were very close. Him and Brody Lee were very, very close. And so he was talking about an interesting incident that happened when he went to meet a medium. And he ended up getting a message from Brody Lee, like unexpectedly. So the way the story went was he went to go meet with a medium where he wanted to communicate with his grandfather that passed. Because that was the whole point in going to see the medium. It wasn't about Brody.
Because he wasn't a medium kind of guy.
Right. So he said, and I'm just going to read to you his thing that he said here. So he said, after my grandfather had passed, which is around a similar time to Brody's passing, I had went to, oh gosh, what do you call them when you talk to people that talk to people on the other side? A medium? He said, which I don't believe in whatsoever. But he went. He doesn't believe in them, but he went.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm talking to the medium, and they're saying stuff about my grandfather that they couldn't possibly have known. And they're telling me how my grandfather is on the other side. And it was honestly really, it was both enlightening and it made me feel good. And before I left, they said, whoa, there's this big individual that has just walked into the room. He's got a big scraggly beard, and he said he needs you to send a message to his wife. And I'm like, who the hell is this? And the medium looks at me and goes, his wife's name is Amanda Huber. So immediately I'm freaked out, right? He said, the medium starts talking to me and I can tell she's speaking the way that Brody used to speak with me, very tongue-in-cheek, kind of ribbing me. And at the end he says, can you please send this message to my wife? Now that's something that does happen when mediums are speaking to spirits. If they're repeating exactly what's being said, it always comes across like the spirit.
Absolutely.
He said, I'm not going to say what the message is. That's between them. But I was, obviously pretty spooked. So he walked up to Amanda at TV the next week, and I tell her this insane story, and her eyes start welling up because she was searching for this message. She had got her answer that day. So even in the afterlife, Brody really loved and cared about his wife and kids. So for us to have the opportunity to be able to honor a man who is so powerful on this plane of existence and outside this plane of existence, that's really cool. And he's like super excited about the sneakers. The whole interview was about the sneakers. But just a really cool story because, that wasn't something that was expected. He wasn't looking for it. And the fact that his wife was looking for that message, that makes it sound like maybe they had like a thing with them, like, I'll try and get you a message.
I felt like she needed to know something was okay. And, I feel like she got that message.
And that description of him is on point. Big
absolutely.
big guy, scraggly beard.
Yeah.
So just a really cool story. And I just love it. I love the fact that he admitted that the medium was giving him information about his grandfather.
Yeah.
That she could not have known.
He loved his grandfather very much and was very close to him. So, that was a really cool thing. I can see where he would have went for his family. Right.
Well, good on him for being open-minded enough to go to the medium in the first place.
I've only got to meet MJF. I've seen him live many times, but in a peer capacity in the locker room with him one time in Charlotte, and before he really broke open, and he was super nice, just a super good kid. he's warm and, excited about everything. So he's got that kind of energy that would be very active for spiritual communication himself.
Right.
And so I can see where he could pull in somebody that was a friend just because he's very much a light.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell. All right. So let's move on. Let's go on to some more disturbing type news. So this is about a futuristic prison concept that promises rapid rehabilitation using synthetic memories.
I don't like it already.
No, this is very unusual. So this is a project called Cognify.
Oh.
And it involves implanting synthetic memories of crimes into prisoners' brains from the victims' perspectives. And this is a concept that is being proposed as a way to create a lasting therapeutic effect by making these memories permanent. So the idea of this is with prisoners, instead of taking prisoners and putting them into the prison system for however many years, 20, 30 years, it's going to focus more on the rehabilitation aspect. And instead of them spending all that time, they would wear this AI helmet and have these memories implanted to sort of make them feel regret and remorse where they wouldn't normally feel regret and remorse. And supposedly it only takes, not like as composed to 20 years, it would only take a few minutes, but to them it would feel like it had been 20 years. Like they would just implant all these memories.
How crazy it is that they can do this.
It's
the fact that they can do this.
Right.
The fact that we're to commercial application of this. How long have they been able to do this?
Who knows?
And
who knows?
Who's got real memories and who doesn't at this point?
So the way it says in here, it's the way they describe it. It says that these complex, vivid, and realistic memories will be generated in real time using AI, and it would be customized for each case, considering the severity of the crime and the sentence. That in practice, the rehabilitation process would last only a few minutes, but it would feel like years to the criminal. And what they would have to do is prisoners would undergo high-resolution brain scans to create a detailed maps of their neural pathways. And then they would put on this device, the Cognify device. It would target specific brain areas responsible for memory, reasoning, and logical thinking. And once it's deployed, the device will broadcast AI-generated memories of the prisoner's crimes, which could range from domestic violence to fraud. And in addition to the visual effects, prisoners may also experience physical reactions such as pain and suffering endured by the victims.
Yeah, they're giving them the victim's crime.
Yes.
And they're going to go worse than that.
Oh, I mean, it's so open to misuse and abuse, and
just think what they can do to enemies.
Right. And and even if this guy that wants to do this has the best intentions, even if he just wants it to rehabilitate criminals in a quick way where they don't have to waste 20 years of their lives in prison, and maybe they could be rehabilitated and put back into society or whatever he wants to do. You just don't know. I mean, what if it breaks your mind? What if it makes you worse?
Well, why is that the first thing that we hear about? Like, why is it not a new way to school? Right? Instead of having to spend 6 years as getting your doctorate.
Right. Why are you not implanting all those memories of going to law school and having all the information? I mean, that would be a positive use for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some things you can only, learn by doing.
Right.
And can you imagine if we implanted all these elaborate surgeries into people maybe already going after their PhD.
Right.
But now they've experienced doing these surgeries and or pilots.
Such a sci-fi movie kind of
these
type
pilots, you need so many hours to get your license. What if you went in and I just flew for 10 years? I mean,
that's what they did in the Matrix movie.
Yeah.
They would plug him in.
Exactly what it is.
And it'd be like, teach me Kung Fu. And they'd be like, all right, downloading. And they would download it, and then he could do it.
Here's my thing. If we're able to do that,
right?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you're able to do that, it's been done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you can recreate the Matrix, do we live in a Matrix?
I mean, it's so there's
Are
so
we
much
a brain
sketchiness
in a
about
vat right now?
Right.
Because they have those too.
Well, and I mean, you would have to seriously trust the person implanting the stuff in your brain, even if you were doing it for good, even if you were trying to learn something.
Yeah.
It's all being
But why is the first thing we hear about that?
I know. I don't know. But they're saying it's all generated by AI. Is somebody going to sit down and meticulously look through every single thing that AI generated to make sure that it's on point and okay and not,
Who knows?
It's such a just, yes, please mind control me. It's so scary.
Yeah, no,
I think it's scary.
The slope has already been slipperied.
Yeah, they're buttering that thing up.
Yeah, we're currently trying to run back up the slide and not going anywhere.
No. So on
Horrifying.
This same kind of AI note, let's talk about an eerie digital afterlife. It's
Okay,
no
sounds
longer
good.
science fiction. So it says, imagine a future where your phone pings with a message that your dead father's digital immortal bot is ready. This is a new thing that is happening. It's a premise of chatting with a virtual version of your loved one, perhaps through a virtual reality headset. And they claim that this is a new niche. This is something that is happening right now.
I thought I told you about this.
I think that you did, but this particular article talks about different companies that are actually really bringing this to the forefront. It says there's one called Hereafter that allows users to record stories and messages during their lifetime, which can then be accessed by loved ones posthumously. That's not as bad because that's someone knowingly recording things for you later. My Wishes offers the ability to send pre-scheduled messages after death, which again is still something you recorded ahead of time.
Yeah. You're getting to the good one, aren't you?
Hanson Robotics has created robotic busts that interact with people using the memories and personality traits of the deceased.
So you get the bust?
Yeah, you actually get like something to touch. And then Project December grants users access to so-called deep AI to engage in text-based conversations with those who have passed away. Now, however, there is a new company that claims they can create the digital afterlife just from your loved one's social media posts, emails, text messages, and voice recordings.
Their footprint on the internet.
Yes, they can use this to create digital personas that can interact with the living.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of this article, after they talk about this, that's happening, most of this article is about how this sort of thing needs regulation. And is it ethical to create personas from people that have passed when they can't, agree to what you're doing or what they're saying? It just, it's just one of those things like
Gives a whole new meaning to intellectual properties.
be prepared with what you post on the internet.
Look,
You just
dude.
be careful.
Listen, I'm not against it, and I've already told you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the footprint of mine?
Right.
You can have absolutely. It'd probably be better me than me. I mean, because I've been on the internet since there was an internet. I mean, Dead Level was uploading songs in 2000.
Right.
And so you've got Singing Me, you've got Screaming Me,
Mm-hmm.
you've got everything from Wrestler to podcast to Haunted to I mean, it's just everywhere.
There's everything. Yeah.
Commercials. I mean, there's so much stuff.
You could do anything. But, it's interesting because they do point out that for some people, this is probably a really good thing and it helps them and gives them closure. But for some people, it could be harmful, psychologically harmful, to have that hanging around.
I don't know. I'd rather have fake robot you than
nothing.
Yeah.
There are ethical concerns, they claim, that the tech could be used for things like exploiting digital immortals for commercial gain, like using them to advertise
So
products.
give me
and
the
things
address
like that.
everybody that's worried about it, and let me tell them about the last story.
Yeah, really.
We'll get a free and clear path for dead robot friend.
So just an interesting kind of thing. I guess there are more and more companies stepping into this genre.
Oh, yeah, of
so
course
you're
there
going to
is.
see more of that.
It's the Wild West right now. I mean, it's basically like Australia during that big, sheep boom.
Right. Sheep boom.
Well, no, in the 1850s, 1860s, they needed wool really bad in England.
Oh.
And they were making, like crazy amounts of clothes and stuff. And so anywhere that had like a patch of grass
Right.
that you could, have some sheep,
Right.
that was the big money boom.
Oh, there you go. I did not know that. I learned something today.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It has to go somewhere.
It's okay.
Maybe I can lose that one now.
Well, let's replace it with this one.
Okay.
The world's luckiest man grows a 63-leaf clover.
Oh, well, I bet you hated this story,
This is
didn't you?
no, not specifically.
Oh, yes. Okay.
No, let me tell you why. Because he genetically modified it.
Oh.
He didn't just find a 63-leaf clover.
Well, Stacey loves
but-
our leprechauns. Because listen, she's out there. She goes, oh,
Guess what I found today, darling? I found another 4-leaf clover and a 5-leaf clover. Are there many 5 leaves? Do you think? And this is all coming because of one reason. Guess who can't find a 4-leaf clover? Ever seen the kid on Mallrats looking for that goddamn sailboat?
I've told you to go out there and look.
I've looked.
No, obviously not good enough. Anyway, there aren't any out there right now. It's been too hot.
Just tell your stupid story.
All right, fine. So this 45-year-old man named Yoshiharu Watanabe has
Definitely
set
not Japanese.
a new Guinness World Record by growing a clover with 63 individual leaves. Now, how this happened was it began in 2009 when he started picking up clovers with more than 3 leaves and planting them in his home garden. I'm totally taking this clover patch with us when we leave this house, just so you know. The little plant, is pretty resilient, he said. So all he had to do was cross-pollinate to obtain exceptional specimens with up to 20 leaves. So then once he started being able to do that, he began dreaming about setting a new world record. But he didn't know if he was going to be able to do it. So all these years, he's been cross-pollinating and growing his clovers. And finally, in 2020, he grew a 49-leaf clover. But the record was 53. So he was so close, so close. But just as he was about to give up hope of ever breaking the record, in 2023, he managed to grow a clover plant that had 63 individual leaves.
Just poor Clover.
He's so lucky.
I bet they're like,
Oh, God, here he comes again. He forces us to do things.
Do you
He
think
only keeps the ones of us that have more than 4.
this poor 4 and 5 leaf clovers feel so inadequate? Do you think, how much luck do you think he gets with 63 leaves? Do you think it's still luck at that point, or is it?
No, I'm sure it's went the other direction by now.
Well, because they're not being grown. Like the ones I find just grow on their own.
Yeah.
I don't create them.
There's a reason that the little people don't reside in Japan. They have their own little people. They're little mountainous devils that don't come down very much unless it's to curse you.
Oh, I see. So
They know better.
For people that don't know, we have a huge clover patch in our backyard,
Yes.
several of them.
Next
and
to our little people gate.
when I go out there are always 4-leaf clovers, and I have found about 10 5-leaf clovers now out there. And I actually made a little welcome sign with them. They're very cute. I'll
I'm going to
post a
come home
picture
and I'm
of
going to
it.
hear some Barry White out back playing, and she's going to have like a little dinner for 2 clovers at a table.
Oh, no, it's been so dry and hot. There are no clovers out there right now. I water the yard as much as I can, but they'll come back. They're resilient. All right, let's move on.
You live an interesting life, Stacey.
Oh, well, hey, you should see me looking at the birds in the morning. The birds and the squirrels. There's a whole
Chipmunks.
gang thing going on out there.
I
It's
love it because I can ask
awful.
questions about them. They all have stories, backstories,
It's crazy what goes on
little
out
crime
there.
syndicates. Stealing Stacey's peanuts.
They're in gangs. It's
Yeah.
crazy. All right, so let's move on to a story from India.
Okay.
So this is from a place called Gorakhpur, India. I think I said that right. So this man named Ram Sumer, he's a resident. He lodged a complaint that his wife had gone missing on June 15th. Then 4 days later, this is a mystery, by the way.
Yeah.
4 days later, on June 19th, a woman's body was found in the bazaar area. So he went and he identified the body as that of his wife, and he completed the
Like
last
the shop
rites.
area, not like the bazaar area.
Yeah, like the
Like
markets.
Bazaar.
So he went and he saw the body. He identified it as that of his wife. He completed the last rites, and then he had her cremated because, that was just, I guess, her last wishes. It was discovered, however, that the woman had been strangled to death. So there was a further probe on it, like an investigation to find out what had happened to her. So as part of that investigation, they traced his wife's mobile phone, which was still active 600 kilometers away in another city. So the call records show that there was a frequent communication with a particular number. And when they called, they found a gentleman at the other end who claimed that he took her and brought her to the other city and that she was staying there, and he gave them her address. And when they went there, she was there.
What the hell?
Yeah. She had been there. Like on June 15th, she had left her parents' house and was supposed to be coming home. She never made it. After her husband searched for her for a while, he eventually reported her missing. But then here this other body turns up and he claims it's his wife. So it's obviously somebody that looked just like her, maybe? Who knows?
Why was her phone up there, though?
No, she's alive with her phone. they found her by tracing her phone.
So the dead person they found just looked like his wife.
Yes, just looked like his wife. But now the mystery is who was she? And why is his wife not there? It's like a whole, they have no idea. Nobody's giving any answer. There's some closed circuit TV camera footage, and they say they were investigating from a new angle, but the whole thing is just very strange.
Wouldn't it be really shitty if you went to kill your wife and you had it all planned out and her long lost twin had finally figured out where she lived?
I was coming to see her.
And she's like, oh, I'm so happy. I get to come see Babushka. And she shows up and...
Now they've cremated the body, so they can't do any further, like, tests on who it is or anything. Fingerprints, nothing. Teeth records. Nope. Very strange.
That's a Twilight Zone episode.
It's really weird. It'd be even weirder if they were able to take some of the remains and test them, and it came back as his wife.
100% match.
Yeah, that would be really strange. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. All right. Last story. You ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. This is about a new reality show that's coming on a streaming network called The Network. Mm-hmm. It's just a new one. It's an ad-supported streaming app called The Network. It's free.
They've given up.
Yes. So this one is especially for the conspiracy theorists. It's sort of a kind of game show, reality show where they're going to pay cash if players can convince experts that the Earth is flat.
Oh.
It's called Flat Earthers.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, look. I watched this stupid video. Mm-hmm. And I'm so sorry. I watched this video with this person going and talking to pilots.
Right.
And they were like, hey, Harry, how long have you been a pilot? 14 years, Doug. In that 14 years, can you tell me how round is the Earth? It's not round, Doug. It's flat. It's a pancake. I've never seen anything curve. And so it was like pilot after pilot after pilot.
Right.
And I mean, they were, they had their little wings on. They were, they were pilots. And I'm sure they were tongue in cheek, joking around. I mean, we've seen it, right? I mean, we've seen the round Earth, right? It's sure.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't fly high enough to see the curvature of the Earth, do they?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're supposed to, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I'm pretty damn sure that I have felt like I seen the curve at the ocean.
Right.
Like where it's like not like in my mind anyway. I mean, it feels like I've never doubted that.
Right.
Like that's not been what I ever doubted. Mm-hmm. But then when you see all the shit they've lied to us about.
Right.
Okay.
That's true.
All the things they've lied to us about, all the things they've belittled people. Mm-hmm. Now, it takes a special kind of conspiracy for them to belittle you.
Right.
And when you put that out there, there's only a couple things out there that we just poo-poo. Okay? Mm-hmm. Just straight up poo-poo on the principle alone. It gets me worried.
I struggle with the reasoning for lying about flat versus round Earth. What would be the...
Well, the reasoning would be that it would mean that... I think it would mean more about simulation than anything. Mm-hmm. I think that maybe they couldn't simulate the place you're at for the game.
Right.
And you could see all this stuff out in supposed space. Mm-hmm. But, you couldn't... I don't know. It's just...
It's so strange.
Okay, listen. For the record.
Right.
No part of me believes the Earth's flat.
Right.
Okay? I'm just saying that what worries me is not that the Earth is flat or not.
Right.
But that there's something about looking into it being flat.
Right. That's going to lead you to something you shouldn't know.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
That's what I believe. Like, I believe this has something to do with poles. I have something, like we've heard before about how at the north and the south exact, top and bottom,
right,
that there's a hole to the hollow earth.
Right. And they definitely don't want you to go there.
They don't want you to go there.
Right.
But they've also got this, these places that are cordoned off and you can't go to, and, like these ice walls and, and you got to think about, you can't go just anywhere in Antarctica. It can't be because they're worried about us dying, or they wouldn't let people die of drug overdoses and make sure they're comfortable on the way out.
Right.
It just seems like that's a long way to go to care about somebody's well-being.
Right. Like, I don't think people are just randomly wandering around the edge of the world and, it needs that much secrecy.
there's a lot of things that don't need that much secrecy. And
That's
as I
true.
get older, I worry about, again, not the fact that you're rummaging through my box,
Right.
looking for something I absolutely didn't do, but what you'll find that I did do.
Right. I got you. I got you. Well, this particular show, the premise is that there are families in the competition, and they'll each be given $50,000 worth of resources for research, and will ultimately present their findings to a panel of scientists, theologians, and cartographers. And if they can convince a majority of the panelists that the Earth is in fact flat, they'll be awarded a cash prize. Now, it says the amount of the cash prize was not disclosed. I don't
If you
know.
can convince people that the earth is flat, you don't need their stinking $50,000. How? Listen.
So that's the
what
premise.
the hell are you supposed to buy with? You know what? I've had a random $50K before.
Yeah.
When it still meant something.
I don't know what they're going to buy a little sailboat and sail to the edge of the world. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
You can't get a boat to. You can't charter a boat to.
Can't fly to space with $50,000?
No, $50,000 ain't nothing.
I'm not sure what they're going to
It
do.
ain't jack shit anymore.
I might have to check the show out just out of curiosity, pure curiosity. Supposedly they're going to have 10 episodes and they'll launch all this December.
Yeah.
So we're going to
bad.
have to maybe check that out. Very
Yeah.
strange.
Very strange.
Okay, anyway, that is all my news.
Well, on that flat disappointment, we're going to call this thing another week. And it was a great one. This is an all-timer news-wise. And it just means shit's getting weirder.
It is.
That's a bad sign for all of us. For my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the sideshow.
Good night.